Welcome to a new era, where data isn't just information, it's the backbone of transformation. But here's the twist. It's not just about the tools, it's about people. Diversity, ethics, and digital fluency are the new power moves in business. If you're making decisions that shape the future, this is your blueprint. The partnership between gigeconomyexperts.com and blackpeopledata.com is value-driven. Data plus purpose equals competitive advantage. Now let's bring it all together. Here's a glimpse of the work that defines us, a dynamic showcase of creativity, innovation, and purpose-driven campaigns. So sit back and listen to the BPD Podcast, edutainment at its finest.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Our mission today, well, it's pretty focused. We're cracking open this huge data set we've put together. We're calling it the BPD file. Stands for Business and Policy Discussion. It pulls together loads of social media buzz and news chat about emerging tech. Think AI, blockchain, data science, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and it's a really granular look, isn't it? We're going way beyond just the headlines or, the standard company announcements. What's key here is we're seeing how the tech itself, like deep learning, secure ledgers, how that's actually hitting things like ethics, talent, and core business plans.
Exactly. We want to give you, the listener, a kind of shortcut to what really matters. We're asking, what are those nuggets of insight you only get by digging into these real conversations? What's the signal in all that noise?
And, the first thing that jumps out from this BPD file, the real hook, maybe isn't what you'd expect. It turns out the loudest, most dominant conversations aren't just about the code or the hardware. They're about culture. They're about people, purpose. And the data suggests ignoring that human side. Well, that's seen as the biggest risk to actually making innovation stick right now.
Okay, so let's start there, with the pace of it all. Looking at the sheer speed reflected in the BPD file, which technologies are really driving the conversation volume? And what specific uses are popping up again and again?
Oh, AI and machine learning, hands down. And specifically, the more complex stuff, deep learning and NLP, natural language processing, those are really hot topics. And alongside that, blockchain is still making, significant waves, especially where you need trust and transparency for transactions.
Yeah, I found the specific examples really telling. You sort of expect high-level discussions, but the data pulls out these everyday changes, these small things that actually signal huge shifts happening underneath.
That's exactly it. Like, take banking. The file flags chatter about Dutch banks raising their contactless payment limits. Now, that sounds small, right? But it's not just a tech tweak. It's a policy shift. And it's only possible because their ML-driven security is good enough now to handle the fraud risk with higher amounts. So the tech capability is literally driving consumer policy.
Right. And meanwhile, you see blockchain dominating finance talk. Crypto, fintech, obviously, but also lots of conversation around secure digital transactions, way outside just banking.
And if you zoom out a bit, all these specific tech talks, whether it's contactless limits or crypto, they're all part of this one massive trend, digital transformation. The BPD file keeps linking everything back to cybersecurity, scaling up cloud stuff, and crucially, the huge challenge of enabling remote work securely. The conversations show you can't just innovate rapidly, you have to build in robust protection at the same time. They go hand in hand.
Okay, so that speed, that transformation, it naturally creates some tension, doesn't it? The BPD file really captures this very mixed feeling around automation and what happens to jobs. It's that classic double-edged sword.
It really is. On one side, you've got the optimists, developers, tech specialists. They see amazing efficiency gains, whole new job categories emerging that, didn't even exist a few years back. For them, automation means opportunity, transformation.
That's the sunny side of the street. But
Yeah.
dig into the file, and the sheer volume of anxiety about jobs just disappearing, it's significant. It's like a loud alarm bell, really stressing the immediate need for serious upskilling plans, especially for people in non-tech roles.
And the conversation shifts pretty quickly from just fear to wanting control. That's where the ethical AI push comes in. When people talk automation, the keywords that cluster together are always things like fairness, transparency, accountability. It's relentless. It suggests the fear isn't just about losing a job, but about losing it unfairly, maybe because of some flawed, biased algorithm.
Right, and this is where it gets into the kind of the technical details of designing ethically. The data specifically points out limitations in current NLP systems. It suggests getting to real common sense NLP systems that don't just repeat biases need something called structured approaches. What does the file actually mean by that? What's a structured approach in this context?
Well, standard large language models, they learn from massive amounts of raw, unstructured text online, right? And
Yeah.
that data is full of societal biases, sometimes just bad logic. A structured approach, as the file talks about it, means deliberately building in rules, things like ontologies, logical frameworks, embedding them right into the AI's design. It's like intentionally teaching the AI principles of fairness, what should be true, rather than just letting it mimic the bias patterns it finds in the data it learned from.
Ah, okay. That's a really powerful point for anyone thinking about strategy. It means bringing in AI isn't just buying some software. It demands a proactive plan, a plan that tackles both the tech limits, like building in that ethical structure, and the cultural side, like managing that workforce anxiety with smart upskilling.
Exactly. It's about strategic integration, not just adoption.
So, moving on from that, it's clear the really forward-thinking players aren't just asking, can we build this shiny new thing? They're asking, should we? And if we do, how do we protect it and the people it affects? Let's look at the core values the BPD file suggests are, well, non-negotiable for future success, starting with protection.
Yeah, theme one is definitely trust and security. It's everywhere in the data. As everything gets more digital and connected, robust data protection becomes like the absolute foundation. The file even gets specific, mentioning the need for clear, well-practiced malware response plans. It's about having a plan to bring sanity and security when, not if, things go wrong. Security's shifted, from just an IT job to a core business survival strategy.
That feels critical. Okay, theme two seems to be disruption and agility. The whole vibe in the conversations suggests those old market boundaries are just dissolving. We've seen mentions of startup competitions like that QOD, Brisbane Virtual, #PitchBlack event, and just rapid scaling everywhere. It paints a picture of intense innovation, zero patience for standing still.
And there are concrete examples of that speed in the data. You mentioned PitchBlack, the winners cited there, PlotLogic in the Startup P category, and Parkable in Scale UP. They show that these new, agile players are emerging and gaining serious traction fast. It suggests market leadership now is maybe less about size and more about how quickly you can iterate and adapt.
Okay, but the third pillar you flagged, and maybe the one giving the deepest insight here, is theme three, diversity and inclusion. And the data doesn't just frame this as, a nice thing to do. It seems to link it directly to being competitive.
Yes, this is a critical data-driven point from the file. It draws a direct line between the speed of startup disruption and the presence of minority-led ventures. So inclusion, in this context the data presents, isn't primarily a social objective. It's framed as a precondition for that disruptive agility we were just talking about. The organizations showing the fastest innovation seem to be the ones actively bringing in and using diverse viewpoints.
That's a powerful reframing, isn't it? And we see specific examples cited, like Minority Innovation Weekend described as a summit helping minority innovators launch tech startups, and things like Black Boys Code, founded specifically to tackle underrepresentation. The message coming through the data seems loud and clear. Your capacity to innovate is actually limited if everyone thinks and looks the same. Homogeneity becomes a bottleneck.
Precisely.
All right, this feels like the crucial point then. If we pull together this need for structured ethics, the intense pressure for agility, and this requirement for genuine inclusion, what are, say, the top 3 actionable takeaways for leaders that jump out from analyzing all this conversational data?
Okay, first, for business and strategy overall, leaders have to integrate AI and automation strategically. That means balancing the drive for innovation with putting those necessary ethical guardrails in place from the start. Strategic integration is the key phrase. The aim should be resilient market leadership, not just chasing the newest tech toy.
Okay, strategic integration. What's second?
Second, product design. This is where universal design becomes absolutely essential. The data shows pretty clearly that product designers need to be actively thinking about closing digital literacy gaps. If you want your product adopted widely, across diverse groups, it has to be accessible, intuitive. People need to be able to use it easily, regardless of how tech-savvy they are.
Right, build for everyone. Makes sense. And third
is talent strategy. The focus here has got to evolve beyond just hiring for specific technical skills. Organizations need to prioritize continuous learning, adaptability, and this is crucial based on the data actively foster diversity and inclusion. Why? To build resilience. In markets changing this fast, your workforce needs to be able to pivot, to adapt quickly, and D&I seems key to that adaptability.
And if we look across different industries, the data also gives clues about who's leading, right? Fintech and banking seem clearly out front with blockchain adoption, for instance.
Definitely. And significantly, the data reinforces that tech startups, and particularly minority-led ventures, seem to show higher rates of disruption and agility. We see mentions suggesting concentrations in North America and Australia, things like coding programs there, events like Pitch Black we mentioned, and the impact is spilling over. Healthcare, education, entertainment, they're all part of this conversation too, often pushing hard for protective policies and digital literacy programs within their own sectors.
So this deep dive into the BPD file really seems to clarify one big truth. It looks like future competitive advantage hinges on, maybe, a triangle.
Yeah.
Smart data strategies, building digital skills across your whole organization, and truly valuing equity, not just as a policy, but as an operational must-have.
Yeah, the file really suggests that lasting success isn't just about having the shiniest, fastest technology. It's about being able to critically listen to and interpret these ongoing conversations around fairness, around inclusion, around ethics.
Which leaves us with our final thought for you, the listener, to maybe chew on. If this data strongly suggests that inclusion and ethical design aren't just good things, but are actual preconditions for speed and resilience, what's the single most fundamental change your organization needs to make, starting today, to shift diversity and inclusion from maybe an HR initiative into a core part of how you actually innovate?
Think about where your company's truly disruptive ideas are coming from right now. Something to consider.
Thanks for diving deep with us.